This video is not investment advice. It is purely educational content. Every single day, someone you know walks into a dealership and makes a decision that will cost them somewhere between $500,000 and $1.14 million in lost wealth. They don't realize it because nobody's ever shown them the math. They see a car, they see a monthly payment, they feel that surge of excitement, and in that moment, they become a financial hostage for the next 15, 20, or 30 years. The number of people financing cars at 84-month terms, 7 full years, is now at all-time highs, and the average payment has hit $748 a month for a new car. That's not just a payment, that's a contract that steals your freedom. Here's what the system doesn't want you to know. That $748 monthly payment, it's not the cost of the car, it's the cost of your ignorance. The real cost is the $400,000 to $600,000 in wealth you will never build because that money went to depreciation, interest, and an asset that loses 20% of its value the moment you drive it off the lot. And the banks, they know exactly what they're doing. Let me break down what actually happens. When you finance a $42,000 car, which is the average new car price right now, over 69 months at 6.56% interest, you're not just paying $42,000. You're paying roughly $56,000 total. That extra $14,000 is pure interest. It's money that vanishes. It doesn't go toward your future. It doesn't build equity. It evaporates into the bank's profit margin. But here's where it gets worse. That same $42,000 car, after 5 years, it's worth about $17,000. You've lost $25,000 in value through depreciation alone. So in 5 years, you've spent $56,000, and you're left holding an asset that's worth $17,000. You're down by $39,000 and you still have years of payments remaining. This is the moment most people don't think about. They're too busy enjoying their new car to realize they're underwater. Meanwhile, your neighbor, the millionaire next door who you've never thought twice about, just bought a 4-year-old Honda Accord with cash. It was $17,000. No interest, no payments, no depreciation nightmare ahead. And he's investing his money instead. Let me tell you about Marcus. He's 32 years old. He makes a solid income, about $70,000 a year. He financed a beautiful BMW. It made him feel successful. It made him feel like he'd arrived. The monthly payment was $790. He told himself, I deserve this. And here's what actually happened. For the first 75 months, Marcus paid roughly $54,000 toward that car. By month 75, he still owed about $30,000. The car, meanwhile, was worth roughly $12,000. He was trapped. He couldn't sell it without eating a loss. He couldn't refinance it because he was underwater. So he kept paying and paying and paying. But here's the psychological trick nobody talks about. That car made Marcus feel rich. It made him feel successful. It made his coworkers jealous. And that feeling is worth $30,000 to Marcus. Except it's not. It's worth negative $30,000 because he's losing money every single month. The opportunity cost is what breaks this wide open. If Marcus had taken that $790 payment and invested it in the S&P 500 at a historical 9% annual return, let's see what happens. Over 30 years, which is roughly the lifespan of his borrowing years, that $790 compounded monthly would create $1.14 million. Not $790, $1.14 million from one payment amount invested consistently. Instead, Marcus drove a car he couldn't afford, a car that destroyed his wealth accumulation decades before he realized what happened. The system is designed this way intentionally. Car loans are the second largest form of consumer debt in America. Americans owe $1.655 trillion in auto loans right now, and the banks absolutely love it. Because every single payment Marcus makes is a payment he's not investing. Every payment is wealth destruction disguised as progress. Remember, this is not investment advice, just educational content. Now, let's keep going. Let's talk about the numbers that dealerships don't want you to see. The average person buying a new car finances $42,332. The interest rate is 6.56%. The loan term is 69 months. Let me show you the interest calculation. In the first month, you'll pay roughly $230 in interest and only about $275 toward the principal. That's 85% interest, 15% principal. You're barely touching the actual debt.
It takes until month 40 for your payments shift to majority principal. Until month 40, 3 years and 4 months in, you've barely made a dent in the actual loan. You've paid roughly $12,000 and barely $5,000 went toward the car itself. The rest? Interest, pure interest, the bank's interest, their profit, their wealth, not yours. And this is with a 6.56% interest rate. If your credit isn't perfect, you're paying 9, 10, 11, even 12%. One study found that subprime borrowers are paying 13.34% on new cars and 19% on used cars. At 19%, the interest cost becomes catastrophic. You could be paying $30, $40, even $50,000 in interest alone. This is why millionaires don't do this. A study of self-made millionaires found that 92% of them do not own a luxury car. Not because they can't afford it, but because they understand the math. They understand that a car is a depreciating asset. It goes down in value every single day. And paying interest on something that's losing value is financial suicide. So what do? They buy used, they pay cash, they buy a Toyota or a Honda, reliable vehicles that hold value better. They drive them for 10 years or more and then they buy another used car. Meanwhile, they invest the $748 they didn't spend on a payment. Jeff Bezos has a net worth of $154 billion. He drives a Honda Accord that costs $16,995. Not because he can't drive whatever he wants, but because he understands wealth. Michael Bloomberg has a net worth of $52 billion. He drives a Chevy Suburban that costs about $39,200. These are men who could drive anything, and they choose practical, reliable vehicles because they're not trying to impress anyone. They already won the wealth game. But you're trying to impress people who don't care about you. You're trying to signal success to coworkers who are equally broke. You're trying to prove to strangers that you've made it, when the truth is you've made yourself a financial hostage.
I know what you're thinking, but I need a reliable car. I can't buy a 15-year-old clunker. And you're right, you shouldn't. But here's the thing. A 4-year-old Toyota or Honda with 41,000 miles on it costs about $12,000 to $15,000. You can pay cash for that. Or if you finance it, the interest rate is lower on a used vehicle from a reliable brand, and you're not taking the massive depreciation hit. The difference between a 4-year-old Honda and a new Honda is depreciation. The new one loses 20% of its value in year 1. The used one, it's already gone through that cycle. So you have 2 paths. Path 1, spend $134,000 over 18 years on car payments, financing one car every 5 to 7 years, accumulating interest and depreciation with each purchase. Or Path 2, spend $30,000 total over 30 years, $15,000 up front, then $15,000 7 years later on your next used car, and invest the remaining $500,000 to $600,000 in wealth-building assets that actually compound over time. Path 1 leaves you broke and driving a flashy car. Path 2 leaves you wealthy and driving a Corolla. Guess which millionaires choose? But what if something breaks on the used car? Maintenance on a well-maintained used Honda or Toyota runs about 9 to 11 cents per mile. If you drive 15,000 miles per year, that's about $150 a month. That's real money, yes, but it's still half of what you'd spend on loan interest for a new car. And after you own the used car outright, you're just paying maintenance. No interest, no payment, no depreciation. Here's how the 15 years of freedom comes into play. Imagine you're 25 years old right now. If you finance a new car every 5 to 7 years for the next 30 years, which takes you to 55, you will have spent somewhere between $400,000 and $600,000 on cars. Interest, payments, depreciation, all of it gone. Compared to the millionaire path of buying used cars outright, you've lost roughly $500,000. That money invested at 9% annual returns would have grown to over $3.5 million. You just lost $3.5 million in wealth by trying to drive a dream car. That's not a dream car, that's a nightmare. A nightmare that costs you 15, 20, 30 years of financial freedom. You won't be able to retire when you want. You won't be able to take risks. You won't be able to start a business because your capital is tied up in depreciating metal and rubber. Now, here's the part where it gets personal. The dealership is counting on you not doing this math. They're counting on you walking in emotionally attached to a vehicle.
They know that when you sit in that car, your brain releases dopamine. They know that the leather seats, the new car smell, the sound system, all of it triggers your reward centers. They're engineering your emotional response, and they're profiting from it. Here are the psychological tricks they use. First, they get you to focus on the monthly payment, $748. Sounds manageable, right? Except they're hiding the 69-month term. They're hiding the $14,000 in interest. They're hiding the fact that you'll still owe $8,000 after 5 years. Second, they extend the loan term. If you push back on the payment, they don't lower the price, they just stretch the loan to 84 months. You pay less per month, but thousands more in interest. You think you won, you lost. Third, they use scarcity. This is the last one in this color. Someone else is looking at this car right now. This price is only good today. They're triggering your fear of missing out. Your brain short circuits. You make an emotional decision instead of a logical one. Fourth, they make the paperwork complicated. They flip pages, they cross things out, they write over numbers. They wear you down so you just sign whatever they put in front of you. Exhaustion makes you compliant.
But what if I told you there's a different way? What if you don't have to choose between reliable transportation and financial freedom? Because you don't. You genuinely don't. The strategy goes like this. First, figure out how much car you actually need, not want, need. Can you get to work? Can you haul what you need to haul? Can you transport your family safely? That's the bar. Not, does it make me feel successful? Not, does it have every feature? Functional needs only. Second, take whatever you are going to finance and buy a used car outright with cash or a minimal down payment. Something reliable, a Toyota, a Honda, a Mazda, a car that has a proven track record of reliability. You're going to pay between $8,000 and $15,000. That's real money, and I'm not minimizing it, but it's a finite cost. Third, once you own that car outright, you never make a car payment again. You pay maintenance, you pay insurance, you pay fuel, but you never pay interest. Never. You own it, you keep it for 8, 10, 12 years if it runs, and when it finally gives up the ghost, you have accumulated another $8,000 to $10,000 in cash from the money you didn't spend on payments. You buy your next car. No debt, no interest, clean slate. But here's the real strategy. That $748 you're not spending on a payment anymore, you're investing it every single month into index funds, into real estate, into your business, into assets that appreciate instead of depreciate. Let me show you what that looks like. $748 per month invested at 9% annual returns over 30 years equals $1.14 million. $1.14 million from one decision made today. That is not hyperbole. That is compound interest. Albert Einstein called it the eighth wonder of the world. And every dollar you're spending on a car payment is a dollar that doesn't compound. It doesn't grow. It doesn't multiply. It just vanishes. I know what you're worried about. What will people think when you're driving an older car? What will your coworkers say? What about your image? And here's the truth. Most people are too focused on their own insecurities to judge your car. And the people who do judge you for your car are people whose opinions don't matter. They're still drowning in car debt. They're still trapped. Don't become them. Think about this. You can either drive a new luxury car and be broke at 55, or you can drive a used Civic and be a millionaire at 55. Choose. The hard truth is that car payments are designed to feel normal. They're designed to feel like everyone does it. And technically, everyone does. The average person has a car payment. The average person is not wealthy. That's not a coincidence. That's cause and effect. The wealthy buy used cars and invest the difference. They build wealth while everyone else builds car payments. Your dream car isn't your enemy. Debt is your enemy. And the longer you finance cars, the longer you remain in debt. The longer you remain in debt, the more years you have to work. That's what I mean when I say your dream car is stealing 15 years of your freedom. It's not the car. It's the financial trap designed around the car. Break the trap, and you break free. If you know someone drowning in car debt, share this video with them. Help them see the math before it's too late.
Like this video if this hit home. Subscribe if you're serious about building wealth instead of building car payments.
Now, I want to go deeper into something most people never understand: the interest mechanics. Why does the bank make so much money off of car loans? And how are they structuring these deals to maximize your debt? When you take out a 69-month loan for $42,000 at 6.56% interest, the bank doesn't care about the value of the car. They care about one thing: the interest you'll pay over those 69 months. And here's how they structure it to get maximum interest from you. In the first payment, $230 goes to interest, $275 goes to principal. In the second payment, roughly the same split. In the 20th payment, still mostly interest. It's not until you're well into the fourth year that you're paying more toward principal than interest. This is called negative amortization in the early stages. You're barely touching the debt. And the banks do this intentionally. They build 69-month terms into the market because they know most people will either sell the car or trade it in within 5 to 7 years. Right when the payments finally start going mostly toward principal, you get a new car. You start the cycle over. The bank resets the interest clock, and you never pay down the debt. You just keep cycling into new debt. Let's say you trade in your car after 5 years. You've paid about $42,000 in payments. Of that, about $17,000 went to interest. About $25,000 went toward principal. You still owe roughly $17,000 on the original loan. Your car is now worth maybe $12,000. You're underwater by $5,000. The dealer rolls that negative equity into your new loan. Now you're financing a new $45,000 car plus the $5,000 you still owe from the last one. You're financing $50,000. At the same interest rate, you'll pay roughly $17,000 more in interest. This is the trap. The moment you trade in a car financed before it's paid off, you've locked yourself into perpetual debt. You will never own a car. The bank will own your labor for decades. Here's what the dealer makes from this. They make a commission on the sale of the car. They make additional profit from financing markup. Some banks allow dealers to mark up the interest rate by up to 2% above the bank's base rate. So if the bank offers 6.56%, the dealer might sell it to you at 8.56%. That extra 2% on a $42,000 loan over 69 months is thousands of dollars in additional profit going directly to the dealer, and you never even knew they did it. This is why the system is designed the way it is. The car manufacturers profit when you buy. The dealers profit when you finance. The banks profit from interest. The insurance companies profit from higher premiums on new cars. Everyone in the system profits except you. You're the only one losing. And the person who profits most? The dealer, because they're selling you two things: a depreciating asset and the debt that comes with it. That's their business model. Now, some people say, but interest rates are lower now than they were 5 years ago. It's a good time to buy. And yes, 6.56% is lower than some rates you might find, but it's still higher than the S&P 500's historical 9% return. You're borrowing at 6.5% to finance something that depreciates at 10 to 20% annually. That math doesn't work ever. It's a guaranteed losing trade. Even if interest rates were 0%, even if the bank paid you to borrow, it would still be a terrible deal because of depreciation. A 0% interest loan on a $42,000 car that's worth $32,000 a year later is still a 39% loss over 4 years. The depreciation is the killer, not the interest. Although, the interest sure doesn't help. Let me show you what happens when you actually build wealth instead of financing cars. This is where the real story begins. Meet Sarah. She's 30 years old. She makes $80,000 a year. At 30, she decides to buy her first car. Instead of financing a new $30,000 car, she buys a 6-year-old Honda Civic for $12,000. She pays cash, no payment, no interest, no depreciation nightmare ahead. That same month, her friend Jessica buys a brand new $30,000 car with a 0 down payment. Jessica's payment is $530 per month for 60 months. Sarah has $0 per month in car payments. Here's what happens over the next 15 years. Every single month, Sarah takes the $530 her friend is spending on a car payment and invests it into a diversified index fund. The average annual return is 9%. She never misses a month. She's consistent. Meanwhile, Jessica makes her first car payment, feels good. After 5 years, she's paid roughly $32,000 total. Her car is now worth about $12,000. She trades it in. She's now financing a new car. She starts over with another 5-year financing cycle, and another, and another. Over 30 years, Jessica makes car payments nearly continuously. She finances 5 different cars. The total spent? Roughly $450,000 when you add up all the payments, interest, and depreciation. Sarah, meanwhile, has been investing that $530 every month for 30 years. She's now 60 years old. Her investment account is worth approximately $2.1 million. Jessica is 60 years old. She's got a car worth about $20,000. Sarah has $2.1 million. Jessica has $20,000. That's a $2,080,000 difference from one decision made at 30. Car payments didn't cost Jessica a car. Car payments cost her retirement. They cost her freedom. They cost her life. Now, some people say, well, Sarah probably makes more money than Jessica. That's why she has more. No, they both made $80,000 a year. The only difference is that Sarah didn't finance cars. That's it. That's the entire difference. You might also think, what if Sarah had a breakdown? What if she got in an accident? What if something happened? And that's fair. Life happens. But here's the thing. Jessica would have had the same breakdown, and she'd be broke with car debt on top of it. Sarah would have been broke, but she wouldn't have car debt. Owning your car outright means one less financial obligation during a crisis. Another objection, a 6-year-old car is less reliable than a new one. Is it? Let's look at the data. A 6-year-old Honda Civic or Toyota Corolla, if properly maintained, has roughly 95% of the remaining life of a new car, and maintenance costs for these reliable brands average about $150 to $200 per month. That's still cheaper than the $530 car payment. Plus, after the car is paid off, you're not making payments anymore. You're just doing maintenance. Over a 30-year horizon, that math is unbeatable. The narrative that you need a new car is a lie told by people who profit from your debt. Don't believe it. This is where the title of this video comes from. Your dream car is stealing 15 years of your freedom. Not literally 15 years. Mathematically, your car payments combined with the lost investment returns will cost you roughly the equivalent of 15 additional years of work. Years you could have been retired. Years you could have been doing what you love. Years you could have been free. Instead, you're working to pay interest to a bank on a car that's worth less each month. But I genuinely can't afford to buy a car outright. And I believe you. Here's what you do. You rent a car. You use a car sharing service. You take an Uber or a taxi. You buy a cheap used car for $5,000 and finance just that amount. No interest if you have decent credit. Or you buy a car for $3,000, drive it until it breaks, buy another $3,000 car, and repeat. $3,000 every 5 years is $600 per year. That's sustainable, and it keeps you out of the debt trap. The option to stay in debt is not because you have no choice. It's because you haven't explored your alternatives, and the car industry likes it that way. So let's zoom out. Let's talk about what this means for your life, not just your finances. When you're spending $748 per month on a car, you're spending roughly 11% of an $80,000 income on transportation. But that's not the real cost. The real cost is psychological. You're now locked into that job. You can't take a lower-paying job you might love. You can't leave your boss who treats you poorly. You can't take a risk on your own business because the car payment is non-negotiable. It comes out before everything else. You've volunteered to be enslaved. Not in a metaphorical way, literally enslaved. You must show up to work. You cannot leave because the car payment is due on the first of the month. Your freedom has been sold for a payment schedule. Let me show you what freedom costs. If you have a $2 million investment portfolio earning 9% annually, that's $180,000 per year in passive income. You don't have to work. You're free. Sarah, from my example, reaches that point at 60 years old. Jessica? Never. Jessica works until she dies because she never built a portfolio. But here's what I really want you to see. This isn't about judgment. I'm not here to judge you if you have a car payment. I'm here to show you the math so you can make a conscious decision. If you decide to spend $748 per month on a car while you're building wealth, that's your choice. But it should be a choice made with full knowledge of the cost. The real cost, not the monthly payment cost, the opportunity cost, the freedom cost. But I'm guessing once you see the real math, you won't make that choice. Here's what I want you to do. First, calculate your actual car payment. Write down the number. Now, multiply it by 480. That's the number of months in 40 years. Write that down. That's roughly how much you'll have spent on car payments in your lifetime if you keep financing cars. Now go to an investment calculator. Plug in your monthly car payment. Plug in 9% annual returns. Calculate over 40 years. Write that number down. That's how much that money could have been worth. Look at those two numbers. One is your car. One is your future. Which one matters more? If you have a car payment right now, here's your path forward. First, don't trade it in. Finish paying it off. Every dollar you're putting toward that payment is a dollar coming out of future interest. Second, once it's paid off, never finance a car again. Ever. Third, start investing. Take that payment amount and invest it monthly, even if you're investing in a simple S&P 500 index fund. Fourth, when your current car is paid off, buy your next car with cash if possible, or with a minimal down payment if you have to finance. But the goal is to own your cars outright as quickly as possible. Real wealth isn't a new car in your driveway. Real wealth is freedom, it's options. It's the ability to walk away from something that doesn't serve you. It's the ability to take a risk. It's the ability to work on your terms, not someone else's. And you can't have that freedom if you're chained to a car payment. The person driving the new luxury car, they're not winning, they're losing. They're losing in slow motion, and by the time they realize it, 30 years have passed and they're broke. But you have the information now. You've seen the math. You understand the trap. That's more than most people have. Most people will finance cars their entire lives without ever seeing these numbers. They'll work an extra 15 years because of it. But you can be different. You can choose differently. And that choice, made today, compounds into your freedom. If you found value in this, please share it with someone you care about, someone who's about to make a car purchase, someone who's drowning in car debt, someone who needs to see these numbers. Like this video, subscribe for more financial insights that the system doesn't want you to have, and let me know in the comments, are you going to break free from the car payment trap, or are you going to keep financing your way to retirement? I genuinely want to know. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.